Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning in. My name is Daniel Hapney, and this is The Real Story. Tonight's main question, we'll give you a theme. You programmed yet? That'll be my question for you, the viewer. Are you programmed yet? So we'll start off, we usually do a little bit of news, some 9/11 Zen. I'm going to start off with the news thing. And I'll be quick. There's so much news I could cover, but I like to cover some of the news that you don't always hear. And some of it I can't cover here because I'm covering it later in the show. But a couple ones. You'll love this one for you ClimateGate people. Maybe some homework for tonight, huh? All right, first off, let's start even Supreme Court rules that businesses now can spend any amount without limit to support or oppose candidates for national office. Isn't that interesting? If you're a business, you can spend any amount now. This is from the Supreme Court. This always has been the case, but in the past, bribes had to be concealed. That was pretty good. That was CBS News anyway. So, hey, how about this one? Researchers discovered that the global warming myth is based on data from only a small fraction of weather stations. That IPCC. We're going to cover them later tonight, okay? In warmer areas of the world, data from colder areas are replaced by computer models, that were programming by global warming myth makers. In other words, where it was showing global cooling, they used computer programming to change that. Kind of interesting, huh? So maybe global warming is man-computer made. Rather interesting. We'll get into some more global warming stuff, but I thought that was good for you. Here's one. Only for you GMO, that's genetically modified organism lovers. Monsanto creates genetically modified corn with 8 abnormal gene traits. Long-term effect on humans? That's unknown. The company already has genetically polluted 90% of the American soy crops and 85% of the corn. Wheat is next on the bill. Remember that, viewers. Okay, also, this one's a little further down. Oh, by the way, that was from the Let's News with Views. This one you'll love from Huffington Post, and that is, study indicates that 3 types of Monsanto's genetically engineered corn cause organ failure in rats. Now, I know you may not feel like a rat, like you dirty rat, like Barney Frank, you scumbag rat. Maybe Barney can start eating this GMO corn, and maybe he'll have organ failure. But anyway, I thought that was interesting. Amazingly, this information comes from an analysis of Monsanto's own research. Oh, this is Huffington Post, in case you're wondering anyway, but all types have, of course, been approved by the FDA for human consumption. Yeah, Monsanto. Yeah, that's right. You can trust them. You can trust them. They're good. Monsanto loves you. Okay. We'll get into Himalayan glacier stuff. This one I like, and we're going to cover this probably with the next show, and that is Ron Paul advocates taking out the CIA. Do you know the last person to do that? Who do you know who wanted to break the CIA up into 1,000 pieces? His name, was it John Fitzgerald Kennedy? Yeah, that's probably a conspiracy theory though, right? Even though he said it. But anyway, that's interesting. And calls them a government unto themselves, saying they run everything. And this is from the Daily Paul, if you ever read any of Ron Paul's blogs. How about, you'll love this one, for all you money people, because we're going to get into money at the show, because I always tell people, and I'll ask you tonight anyway, will you follow the money? Will you think for yourself? Isn't that a good, I try to say it slow, because, a lot of the TV viewers, will you think for yourself? So here we go. This is the U.S. on Christmas Eve. 2009, the government removed all limits to the amount of taxpayer dollars that can be used to bail out Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. Why does this say Barney Frank all over it? Okay. You can expect trillions more to be transferred in the months ahead. Unlimited bailouts mean unlimited inflation and government control. Yeah, Barney. Okay, here's another U.S. one, just following the money, because follow the money. Record year for home foreclosures in 2009 continues to rise. Massive bailouts have put additional strain on the economy and have deepened the problem. Why I say that is because you got to remember, that was just the little quick news clips, and that is, while we're suffering, who's benefiting? Cui bono? So, back to tonight's theme, and that is, if you remember my question was to you, it says, are you programmed yet? And what I brought for you is some, let's see, we're going to try to put some pieces so that maybe you can see it as it happens. But I read something interesting, and I thought maybe I'd read a little to you and at least, ask you some questions, and that is, how do they get to make you think differently? How do they get you to think their way? How do they get you to think that what they present you is the right way? And how do they get you to stop thinking for yourself, basically? And I asked you, would you please start thinking for yourself? So here's some of the ways, and this was a great one, and I recommend, this is part of the homework. Why don't you find the Citizen's Guide to Understanding Corporate Media Propaganda Techniques? We'll start with the first one, framing the debate. Okay? Debate a legitimate issue and ostensibly have both sides represented. But instead of the continuum of opinion, have one from the middle and one from the extreme view. It's like framing a question. But gee, would the media do that to you? Just to, once again, to make you get their opinion, okay? How about, alternatively, have a strong debater on one side and a weak debater on the other. Of course, the point that you want to suppress, have the weak guy over there. No, that can't be it. Program the viewer's attitudes. This is one of the most common propagandist techniques. Cover a story complete with your ideological spin, and then follow up with interviews of ordinary people who support your point of view. We're going to get into that when we show some of this in action, but just think of that, you know. This is it's like the man on the street, but wait a minute. We set the man up type thing. So you get, okay. Distraction. This is another common technique used today. Instead of covering stories that matter, okay, cover irrelevant, trivial stories about entertainers or celebrities and blow them up to grand proportions. Oh my gosh. Have we done that how many times? Should I say Anna Nicole Smith for 45 days? You know, I mean, these little trivial nothing things. Oh my God, Tiger Woods, what happened to him? He's had sex with somebody. We should know about it. His wife beat him. He beat his wife. He crashed his car. All this trivial nothing stuff while they're what? While they're trying to ram that health care bill through, while they're trying to ram the cap and trade, while they're giving up American sovereignty, while we're attacking nations based on lies. Yeah, I think they've used that one before. Okay? Artificial reality, by framing an entire program or network to create artificial realities. Yeah, well, we'll get into global warming and how they used it there, okay? Omission, simple technique, you know, if the news doesn't fit your agenda, don't put it on the news. Hey, how come we don't hear about the European Union investigating the World Health Organization because of the swine flu pandemic hype? Yeah. Okay, so anyway, emphasis and repetition. Oh, yeah. It was George Orwell said, you know, if you lie enough and enough and enough, eventually the people believe it. I think it was Goebbels or Himmler, one of those German guys who said, tell a big enough lie over and over and over, and people believe it. Shills invite often people with so-called credentials. I love the experts they bring to me on television, okay? These experts and professors with lofty titles to support the views you want. They do that all the time. They bring in experts and experienced people who are 30 years old. Yeah, okay, so they're a couple of years out of college. Okay, you with me? They do this all the time, but just tell me if you see it. Repeat the lie. There's George Orwell, right? Repeating the lie. Vilification. If anybody says something against what you say, they're evil. Hey, remember all those people that question things about 9/11? You know, how did a guy in a cave make NORAD, our national radar defense, stand down? How did a big plane fit through a little hole in the Pentagon? Oh, you're evil because you ask questions. Remember the vilification? Let's go through who was vilified. Charlie Sheen, they vilified him for 9/11. Come on, there was the gal on The View show, right? You know, they vilified her. Yeah, vilify people who don't have your view. Deciding who is sane for the reader, you know? Hey, this person's sane and sane. But let me show you how some of this fits into your life. So maybe, you know, I read a few things and that I thought was interesting for you, but now let's put them in context, okay?